Hi everybody and welcome to the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Today on the show we're going to be talking about a bit of live stream automation with a thing called If This Then That, which we will be talking about today. We are going out live, hopefully to all of the places. We're switching up the way we're working a little bit, so let us know in the chat if you are watching live and if you can actually see and hear us. That would be amazing. But you can also use these hashtags Team Live, or if you're watching the replay later on, hashtag Team Replay. But Sam, how are you going? How's your week been? How are all
Yeah,
of things?
it's good. We had the grandparents here for like almost 2 weeks, and they just went back to Michigan recently. So we're like, I think finally figuring out what the new normal is. Like, there's no more dealing with the old house, and no more like setting up the new apartment, and no visitors. And now it's just whatever this course is. Although it is summer, and eventually the girls will go back to school, and that's the true normal, I guess. But yeah, we're just moving forward and figuring out what that looks like. I started a job as an influencer manager for a Roblox marketing company. So it's an interesting time. How's things with you, John?
Things are going pretty well with me actually. I'm such a old man, and I lowered the arms of my office chair earlier in the week, and my back relaxed in a way that it hadn't in 5 or 6 years. And I've got a couple of weighted blankets, and again, I'm
Yeah.
just so happy when I'm not in a lot of pain. So, I mean, it's such a sad little thing to start on, but it is what it is.
Right.
So we are going out live to all the various places. Hello to Saeed, the facilitator, who's watching over on YouTube. So it's great to have your company here today. I guess, like Sam, today we're talking about live stream automation in terms of if this then that. So let's get stuck into it. Can you explain a little bit about what if this then that actually is? And I think they prefer to have it referred to as IFT, which
If
I
yeah,
feel a bit self-conscious about, but it is what it is. So can
it's a
you set the
little
scene for us?
Yeah, it's a little tricky to say if, but yeah, if this and that is, and it's not specifically for live streamers. This works for video creators, podcasters, small businesses, anything. But it is basically a very simplified ability to take content from one place and put it to another place. Not even just content. You can do some very dynamic things. So, if you are a podcaster, for example, anytime your newest episode goes live, you can have it automatically tweet out to all of your viewers, like, check out this new episode, and there's the link, stuff like that. So it is very quick, simplistic automations. But you can do some relatively complicated things with it because it does have the ability to tie itself into other bigger programs. They support hundreds and hundreds of services, from social media sites and video platforms to smart bulbs and stuff like that. Before this show started, I turned my ring light on by telling my Echo device to do it, and that could run through an IFTTT recipe, or applet as they call them. And you can even stack them and chain them so that they're doing multiple things at once. If you're familiar with the Stream Deck, it's a very similar concept to that, but
Okay.
with online stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the smart home automation stuff is really, really interesting. But I
Yeah,
guess we'll focus more on the live streaming, the content creation side of things today. Hello
yeah.
to Roy Kowalski, who's joining us from Sydney. It's great to have your company today. So I guess in some ways, this we have the ability to create these triggers and then have them do subsequent actions. And I know that you've literally been on the IFT official podcast to discuss about all the
Oh
nerdy
yeah.
nerdy things you did, and I was actually rewatching that episode earlier in the week, and it was kind of funny, but you were like explaining that there are things in there that you don't even remember what they do. It's been so
Sure.
long since
I
you've
have
used them, but I
I think
guess
I
in
have like 500 recipes.
yes. So I guess,
Yeah.
you might need to think about how we organize those. And I know Sam does love a spreadsheet, but I guess in
Yeah.
terms of, and I'm probably jumping ahead, but like, in some ways, like, what do you think the easy or the quick wins for a content creator might be? What are the simple recipes to maybe want to get started with?
Sure. And I mean, really, when you approach this, you look at your routine and be like, what are the tedious things? What are the monotonous things? What are the things that I find myself doing over and over and over? Or the things that you're like, oh man, I wish I was doing this 20 more times, but I'm just going to do it this once. And it's those things. So, for our live streamers, our video creators, some of the easiest things to do is whenever you go live, you want to shout that out to it as many places as possible. But like, John and I are doing this show and there's 20, 30 minutes of us getting prepped for this. So the last thing on our mind is like, oh, we're live now. I have 1 second before this countdown is done, or 1 minute. I should go to Twitter. I should go to Discord, and I should go to Facebook, and I'll post it all there. IFT can do all of that. One routine, you could post all of them. I say one routine, 3 routines if you have the free account. They do have a free account. They do have a pro account. There are certain benefits to the pro account, like Twitter, because of the cost of API charges. You have to have a pro account for that. But if I go live on Twitch and I want my Facebook page to know it instantaneously, I can do that with the free account. I can have it send a message to my Discord. I can have it send a message to a Reddit subreddit that's dedicated to me. Pretty much any social media platform along those lines. There's a lot of small, nuanced ones that are not supported yet, but maybe eventually. So that's a really quick one for your live streamers. Again, if you're a YouTuber, a video content creator, you can do the same sort of triggers to automate posting messages from new videos being posted on your YouTube to Twitter, to Facebook, to the subreddit, to Discord, all of those kind of things. They just released, and I'm super excited about this, and I hope I got the phrasing on this correctly. They just released a feature called Upload Video from URL. I have not had the opportunity to play with it just yet, but in theory, you can now upload a video to your YouTube, have it automatically take that video, upload it to Dailymotion, and upload it to Vimeo, upload it to a Dropbox, and so on and so forth. It's a new feature, so they're still rolling out those sort of API connections for it, but it's going to be that's awesome. And yeah, what I said? Podcasters. So yeah, if podcaster, you're doing Spotify. Again, anytime your podcast episode goes live, you can tweet out, you can Facebook post, you can Discord, you can subreddit, all of those things in the blink of an eye, right? So those are some really quick wins and easy things to do.
And I must admit, I'm feeling slightly called out by that earlier thing, because I'm literally that person that normally, and I didn't do it today because we're doing the show entirely out of OBS today, so I haven't posted all those we're live links to all the various platforms in the way I normally manually do that. So again, I look forward to hearing about this. And again, Saeed, congratulations to Saeed,
Yeah.
by the way. He just reached 200 subscribers on YouTube,
Nice.
so you can check out the Facilitator channel if you like. But he writes, I just saw it also supports Zoom meetings, like pause the Roomba when a Zoom meeting starts.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So if you want to get nerdy, I don't have it anymore, but when we were at my old studio setup, behind me was the desk, and on that desk was an on-air sign when and this would actually use Mix It Up, which we'll talk about later, but I would press a button on my Stream Deck to start my stream. That on-air sign would immediately go on. And that was a chain through Mix It Up to IFTTT to that smart home device. So yeah, they support a ton of smart home devices. Anything with Internet of Things, or if you're familiar with all that, is supported, and like hundreds and hundreds of services.
Nice. And you kind of mentioned there is a free version,
Yes.
a free tier and a paid version. Like, how do you, and I guess you've been in the paid environment for forever, so you may not know this off the top of your head, but I'm just wondering, like, what might the differences between those two things be, and how does one make a decision about what's most appropriate?
Yeah, so the most obvious one is the Twitter integration, which you do have to have a pro account for because Elon screwed that whole thing up for them. Um, I believe the other two main benefits of, depending on if you're John or not, of having the pro account is one is you can sort of stack the then that portion. So you could easily go in and create 3 routines, one that says, if I make a new YouTube video, go to Discord. A second one that's a new YouTube video, go to Twitter, or not Twitter, Facebook. And a third one that's if I make a new video, post it to Reddit. With Pro, you make one applet and it does all 3 of those at once. So it'll just throw them all out. The second part is, and this is the don't be John Lacey, is they have a bunch of these, are they called queries? I'm going to call them queries. That's right. These queries that are AI queries. So you can send this little AI bot a quick prompt, and it will generate some quick text for you and put it into whatever that thing is. So if you want to do like every time I go live, it's going to send a message to all of those places. But you're like, I don't want it to just say, watch me live today, now, whatever it is. So every single week, it's the same exact thing. You can have that AI generate something a little different, so it can take the title of your stream or your video, run it into the AI, and it'll be like, today I'm going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. Did you know blah, blah, blah? And then here's the URL. You just give it a simple prompt and it throws out, a social media style prompt to post. So those are the 3 big, I think, pro benefits is Twitter, AI, and stacking all of your applets into one recipe.
Nice. And you may or may not know this off the top of your head, but like, are there a limit in terms of the number of recipes you can have on the free accounts?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I would have to check that, so don't quote me on that.
All right, cool. And hello to M and J who's watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're talking all about if this then that and what we can do as content creators, video creators, live streamers in terms of automating some of the processes around our live streams and our content creation. So we're going to come back in a moment and talk about this some more, but you're watching the show and thank you so much for your company today.
We are constantly training our cats every interaction that we have with them.
Mm-hmm.
So when Johan would get on my counter before, this is 10 years ago, before I was the cat expert that I am now, Johan would jump on the counter. What was the first thing I did? I'd say his name, Johan. Well, he loves that. That's a reward for him. He said, you just said my name. I would go over to him and I'd talk to him and be like, you can't be on the counter. Johan loves when I talk to him. Ding, that's another reward for Johan. I'd pick him up and put him on the ground, but I didn't want him to think I was mad at him. So when I'd pick him up very nicely and kiss him on the head and say, I love you, but you can't be here. I'd put him on the ground. I had just done 3 things that rewarded him for being on the counter. So I was encouraging him to continue doing that.
And that's a segment from Sam's podcast, Just Kidding Around, which you can learn more about over at cuteavalanche.com. And I am delighted to see that my chat integration has actually worked. I wasn't really sure if it was going to, so that's always exciting. Okay, this is the video and live streaming show. And today we are talking about live stream automation, video automation really for content creators. And again, Sam's already kind of alluded to the fact that I'm not a big fan of generative AI. And I think that's true. Well, I mean, I know that's true. But I think for me, in some ways, if there are repetitive things that don't require sort of unique thoughts and expression, then I love the idea of automation in a way that I don't love generative AI. So I just really want to do that. Okay, Saeed has mentioned something that I kind of forgot about too. He writes, on another topic, I realized I can now see LinkedIn comments on YouTube. That's weird and nice. So the thing about that is we're actually coming from OBS to Restream, and Restream actually has its own bot that will relay these chat comments. So you will see more of the conversation in various places now. So it doesn't work everywhere. LinkedIn doesn't accept incoming chat messages at all. So they'll have a fairly one-sided chat experience, but for people on most other platforms, you will see a lot more. So that's cool. And again, my chat bot is on fire. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to do that. So okay, Sam, let's get back into the main content though. Talk to me about automations and the kind of things that we should maybe keep in mind when we're creating these. So I guess, you know, we've spoken about sort of some of those quick wins, but like, you know, where do you think we should start if we are going to sign up for If This Then That later today? And I think you've got a link for us later.
I do actually. It's right there. By the way, if you want to support me, that is an affiliate link. But we'll get into that later. Yeah. So you know, a lot of the things you should think about when you approach this is like how you want to, you know, create a benefit for yourself. Like take some of the you know, regain some of your own time. Like, you know, what are those repetitive tasks? Some of the, I think, best use cases here are, again, promoting the things that you've already put out, right? The things you're doing, putting that out into the world. You can use IFTTT effectively for kind of tracking your inspirations or competition. So it doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have to be your own YouTube that you're looking at. You can track, you know, Jackson Galaxy, who is a very prominent cat personality. Like anytime he puts out a video, it goes into a Google Sheet so I can reference that later and be like, do I want to make a video reply to this? Or is this a topic I want to come back to and make my own video for? So I think that's a really, you know, useful benefit to If This Then That, because that'll just run in your sleep. People could be putting out videos all day long and you'd be like, well, I didn't see that because YouTube doesn't serve those to me because it just goes with whatever the algorithm is. But I definitely want to see, you know, what Jackson Galaxy's latest video is. So there, you know, I think that's a really good use case for it. Archiving your own work so that you have access to it. A lot of creators out there are doing like YouTube Shorts, but they're not planned videos. Whereas like with VODs, maybe you've already got sort of a list of like the videos you're going to do. But because of the nature of YouTube Shorts and remixing and all of that, there's a lot of sort of spontaneous video creation. So wouldn't it be great if anytime you put out a video of your own, it puts that into a Google Sheet with the title, the URL, and the date published, maybe some other information. And then you can reference that list later and be like, oh, right, here's all those videos that I did. And now I can push those out to somewhere else. And technically, if you got really clever, anytime you post a video to that Google Sheet, you can then have another applet run that looks for the URL in that new entry and pushes that off to whatever else. Right now, there's not a whole lot of vertical video integration happening over on If This Then That. Like you can't throw it to TikTok yet, but hopefully in the future they open that up. So I think, yeah, you know, watching your competition, promoting your own content, and kind of tracking and archiving your content is a really great starting use case for this. Now, if you are, oh, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, like, I know that you archive stream comments to Discord. I'm just wondering, is IFT the way that you're doing that?
That was not the way I was doing that, and I haven't been able to. I have not picked up on how to do that at this point because I was using a specific bot called Batissimo, and they were acquired and promptly stopped existing, as are most things that get acquired in the tech space. I think if I were to do that now, the biggest issue is that Discord, similar to Twitter, has like API limits. And if you have a really busy chat, you're going to run the risk of hitting that limit. But I think the way to do that is actually just directly through Mix It Up.
Okay, cool. Well, we might explore that in the last segment then. That's really, really cool. Great question from Saeed. So what is the difference between IFT and something like Zapier?
Yeah, I haven't really used Zapier much. Like I used it a long time ago. They're very similar services. I think Zapier is more expensive from what I recall, but it may actually do a little bit more. So yeah, I 100% don't have a great answer for that.
It's funny. I think in some ways it's like the Mix It Up versus other chatbots. Like there are so many great options out there, and I think you probably won't appreciate the nuance until you get stuck in and have a bit of a play.
Yeah, I from what I recall, the biggest difference was that with IFT you can do more for free, but I do believe Zapier, I don't know how they pronounce that, does more once you start paying, but also you're going to be paying a lot more. Like I think they full on have video to video at this point, but go on, John.
I was just going to say, like some API services, like they do charge you per action in some places, and I know you've already alluded to the Twitter/X thing, which I'll try not to get on my soapbox about, but yeah, I mean it very much depends on what you're doing and where you're doing it, because different services will charge for different things. I will say that the support staff at IFTTT has been really good about listening to the community and trying to add things on. They do have, there's a little behind the scenes, I don't know how important this is. They do have the ability for companies to sort of come in and build out their own like API connections. So, you know, if there is a company that you really want to do like if stuff with, you can reach out to them, but you can also reach out to IFTTT and they might be able to bring it in on their own. Nice. Okay, so we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some slightly more advanced things, because Sam needs no excuse to get nerdy, so we're definitely looking forward to that. But this is the video and live streaming show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hi, I'm John Lacey, and in Build a Presentation Muscle, I want to talk about finding your voice, refining and sharing your message, using tools and technology to share that message, and looking after yourself as a creator. And that's a promo for my podcast, Build a Presentation Muscle, which you can learn more about over at johnlacey.com. And I'm really excited because all the chatbot things are working today. So that's really cool. And we'll talk about Mix It Up, which is the program that I use for the chatbot stuff, which I've only been using for a couple of weeks since Sam introduced me to it. But I'm loving it. Yeah. And I need to create a spreadsheet and put in all my commands. Yep. Yeah, it's so cool. And again, I genuinely feel a little bit bad because like Sam's been talking about that for years, and I'm like, I think that might be a bit too nerdy. And I'm like, no, it's amazing. We should have done it years ago. But anyway, so let's talk about, speaking of being nerdy, let's talk about some of the more advanced things and I guess longer term projects that we might like to entertain in IFT. So I guess like how. And again, we don't want to overwhelm the newbies, but you know, for those who do like to get a little bit nerdy, what are some of the kinds of things that you've explored and you think are worthwhile looking at?
Yeah, I mean, all right, I'm gonna bring up IFT itself right now and just kind of get into it. Like I won't build out entire routines right now, but I am just going to kind of show some things off. So for starters, this is my own personal SAM-proof IFT service. So you can actually get a bunch of sort of updates based on my content without having to specifically go through like different things like, you know, if the SAM-proof YouTube, like they've already built this out for me, which is crazy. Now my cat's going to rub on the mic, which I'm sure is a great sound. Sorry, kitty. You can't do that. But like, yeah. When the Just Getting Around podcast comes out, you can just straight out get a notification. But that's not what I want to show you. We're going to go into my app list really quick. I might actually just show the build out of how these kind of things work. And here's the million applets that I have, but I have 2 accounts. So for example, this has multiple things going on in it. I don't even know what this one's doing. But so we have every day at 3:00. So you can have timed prompts. You can have daily things happen. You'd be like every Monday, but every day at 3:00, it adds a row to a specific spreadsheet. This is also tied to Trello and has the AI in it. I just want to see what this does. This was totally random. This is probably a terrible example. What are we adding here? Okay, this is a NaPoWriMo. This is creating a daily writing prompt for me. So NaPoWriMo is sort of a 30-day challenge to be a writer. And this will go in every day and add a new writing prompt to a calendar. Now, let me get back into the settings. The interesting thing here is, I think I have a different version of this. All right, forget this. Let's do a full-on new thing, and I'll show you just how complicated this can get. So we're going to do something where we're going to add, we'll just start simple, a new YouTube video, and we're going to do it from a public video from subscription. See if it has my subscriptions, so I can pick a specific person. So we'll go with Mark Day Comedy, who hasn't done anything in years. I'll create this trigger. And I'm going to tell it I want the then that to be drop a Discord message for me in my Discord, and we'll just do a regular message. So hopefully everything loads. We're going to find my Discord. And yeah, I'm going to have that post to memes because that's comedy. It'll give you sort of a default message area, but you can add anything to this. And then you can also, it gives you different ingredients. These are the variables that it's pulling. So I'm going to have it throw in the author name. That'll tell me it was a Mark Day Comedy thing. And maybe I'm going to grab his embed code and I'll just make a label for myself. And I'm not going to bother tagging people. So we'll create that action. So that's simple, right? That's the simple, is it did all these things. Now I can also multitask here. I can say, also, I want you to send me an SMS. So we'll just do that. And we'll just change this to, I had posted this. And now it's going to send me a text. So I could do like 20 different things here, right? Maybe I'll have it throw into a Slack. Again, this isn't the advanced stuff. It's pro stuff because I'm doing multiple things at once. But so we're going to have that send to just a generic Slack channel. Where it starts to get advanced is now in between the if this and then that series, there's this plus. So I can do this and it gives me 3 options, which are query, filter, and delay. So delay is the easiest one to comprehend. We're going to go in and say, when that video gets posted, wait 2 hours, then tell me about it. Okay, which is great if you've got other automations doing similar things like, yeah, I'm going to have it post to my Twitter, and then I'm going to wait 3 hours, and I'm going to have it post a different message to my Twitter. So you could have 2 different routines running. All right, so we'll go back in, and we'll do query. And then this is where you can get tricky with the AI stuff. So I can have it do an AI summary. And again, this is a pro. So we're going to do generate takeaways. So if you're following other educational channels, we can have it just kind of give it the information, the title, description, URL. It's going to default to English, but we'll specify that anyway, and create that. So it's going to come back with a bulleted list of like, these are the things he talks about in this video. And then the third thing we can do is filter code. So I can come in, and this is where it gets really tricky. So I don't expect anyone to try and do this on their own. And I'm probably not going to come up with an easy code right now, but I could basically tell it to look at the title of the video using this. I don't have the format, so this is not going to be accurate. And I could say, if the title equals, comedy, or let's say the title equals vlog, not comedy. Then I would have it skip that routine. Like, I don't want just the vlogs. I just want the comedy videos, right? So I can tell it to look for specific keywords. And if it doesn't see those, don't give it to me. So this is probably a bad code, and it's going to tell me that because I'm not really trying to do anything here. It does have some things that will help you. Oh, here we go. Check for keyword. Look at that. Run. Okay, so vlog. Yeah, it has 3. It'll do skip it between certain times or on a certain day, or check for keyword is a built-in. So we'll have it pull that from the, we'll do description and copy that and paste. And there you go. That's the code. So add that filter, see if it actually worked. Okay, so now, I would save this. I'm not really going to because I don't want this. But yeah, now it would run that. It would look to see if Mark had posted a vlog or a sketch video. And if it was a vlog, it's going to skip it. And if it's a sketch comedy video, it's going to run through the rest of this routine, but it's going to wait 2 hours to do it first. So that's kind of how advanced you can get. Beyond that, you can also tie into webhooks, which is really doing some API kind of stuff, which is a lot more complicated. And that is how I do stuff in the section we're going to talk about after this.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I just, and again, I know I'm going to put Roy's comment up. So Tech Troublemaker writes, I used to love IFT until they started charging for everything. I know we've spoken about this before, and I think you told me you've been using it for such a long time that you're like grandfathered into some special.
I am an ambassador for IFT. Not that like, I don't think that's an existing program anymore, but they never took that power away from me.
Okay.
And if they're watching this, please don't. So yeah, I get a lot.
Nice. So again, you do need to check out what it's going to do for you, and if you're inclined to pay for that. And I guess one of the things generally is I think we live in a world these days where so many people are operating their entire business or their side hustle with like 30 AppSumo deals. And I mean, in some ways that's okay, because if you're paying once and you've got it for the lifetime of the product, that's great, assuming the product doesn't go away. But again, I think even it might have been Roy, actually. Someone was telling me recently that that they were trying to cut back on those monthly subscriptions because although they don't sound like much individually, they quickly add up. So again, you need to think about that. And I guess that's the other thing too. I was talking to Saeed before we went live today, and he was suggesting we do a show on how to do all of this for free and not necessarily use the third-party tools. And again, we are, for those that don't know, we've sort of just left StreamYard. We're doing some stuff through OBS and Video Ninja. And we do use Restream just to send this out to multiple services at the same time and hopefully save some processing power and some internet connection bandwidth as well. And it does have some cool features like that chat relay as well. So, I mean, there are lots of different ways of doing it. And we kind of, because we are sort of naturally so nerdy, we love to explore all of those things. So maybe we'll look at some free options, exclusively free options in the near future. But again, you just need to make that call for yourself, I think.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. So yeah, it is a little more restrictive than I remember it being. It is only 2 applets for the free plan. And then they have a Pro and a Pro Plus, and I think the Pro Plus is when you start to get the AI stuff. But the Pro itself is $2.99 a month, $2.99, and you do get 20 applets, but you can do multi-action applets, so it's not terrible. That's pretty good, depending on how many things you think you need to do. That's pretty good. And if you're someone who is using a service like Fiverr to make money online by selling things, you can integrate IFTTT to help automate your workflow as well. So I think for somebody who's making money online, it's definitely beneficial.
Okay. And again, oh, those are fighting words, Roy. So he writes, yes, the 10s and the 20s per month add up. My ChatGPT is the only subscription I feel I get full value from, that and Ecamm Live. Yeah, okay. I think Ecamm's amazing. I'm not a fan of AI, as you probably already know, so I won't editorialize on that too much. But Said writes that the pricing is always relative. If I can save time, headspace, or even generate more revenue
Yeah.
or something, it is a great investment. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in some ways, and I'm sure I've said this on the show before, but in some ways we're so blessed to have so many options. But in some ways that's also a curse, because then you have to
Right.
evaluate the options and make some calls, and if anything changes then you've got to reevaluate. And Sam's already alluded to the fact that software companies get acquired all the time and everything changes.
Yes.
So I mean, unfortunately, that's probably the only consistency in all of this, is that stuff changes all the time and you've got to kind of roll with the punches a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right, cool. So I don't know if you wanted to get into this, Sam, but I noticed there was a mention about a dashboard in Discord that allows viewers to switch cameras on a Twitch stream. Did you want to?
Oh,
I know that
sure.
that's an old thing from the previous house days. So
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's again a pretty advanced, and it's using multiple services together. So let me try and pull that up. It doesn't work right now
mhm.
because of the nature of the stream is actually being run by somebody else. But let me throw this up on screen, and if you see here, I have my Meowbot in Discord, and then 7 buttons right here. And previously, you were able to click these buttons in Discord, and it would switch to one of the cameras in the room on the Twitch live stream. And you can see that setup above it. These are all the cameras, these little pink and black squares. So you would click this, and if I do it right now, it's probably not going to do anything horrible. It's just not going to do anything. Yeah.
Mm.
So what it's actually doing, or what it was actually doing, was running between Discord and a Discord specific bot called Bot Ghost. And then Bot Ghost was triggering, man, this got complicated, triggering an IFTTT that then triggered a webhook that then called up Mix It Up, that then switched cameras in OBS on a computer remote from that user. So that's how advanced it can get.
Yes, so that can get very complicated very quickly, but we'll talk about the Mix It Up integration in a second,
Yeah.
because I know back in the day with the Kid Avalanche Kitten stream, like you could literally, as a Discord member, you could literally tell it to switch to different cameras and do all kinds of weird
Yeah,
and
that
wonderful
was
stuff.
it.
So we'll do that in a second. But as we do, I think you wanted to speak about some live production services, Sam.
Oh, well, we don't have that video. But yeah, if you're out there and you want somebody who can help you run your stream or set your stream up, or even get some automation going through Mix It Up or IFTTT, reach out to me, samproof.tv. If you did want to sign up for IFTTT, you can go to my affiliate link, which is samproof.tv/IFTTT. But yeah, head over there, find the contact form, reach out to me, and I'll see what I can do to help you make your production bigger and better and easier. Mostly easier, if that's what you want.
Absolutely. And it is a slight sore point, because that I did press a button on actually maybe I didn't press the right button. Let me just try that again.
No.
Okay. There we go. I just didn't
Oh,
press the
yeah,
right
there we go.
button. So essentially, Mix It
Great.
Up. So for help with live stream production services, you can go to samproof.tv, and that is courtesy of my chat box, which chatbot, I should say, which is via Mix It Up, which we covered on the show a couple of weeks ago, I think, if memory serves.
Yep.
But again, I'm kind of obsessed with this, and you talk about free software. This is Windows-based software at the moment, although I believe they're working on a
Yes,
cloud-based version, and it is
they are.
so cool. And again,
Yeah.
I guess the first thing I need to say about it, though, is it's at the moment it seems to be supported by YouTube, Discord, and Trovo. So
Yeah.
if you are watching on other services, you may not have access to those chat commands. But again, I'm loving it. I'm so obsessed with it right now. It's amazing. But
Yeah.
I wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about how you sort of interact between IFT and Mix It Up to have even more nerdiness.
Yeah. So Mix It Up does straight out just have a connection to IFTTT, which basically is just sending a webhook that you assign a name to, and that runs to IFTTT and plays whatever that webhook trigger is. So you would just set that up as any kind of label you want, and you can throw that over there. So like when I'm doing light changes, any of that kind of stuff, I'm saying like, ring light would be the webhook, and then I would just hit like a button on the StreamYard that goes to mix it up that turns on the ring light, or I could have a chat command that turns on the ring light, or Mix It Up has a bunch of events that it can look for, like did the software open, did it start streaming? I could have the ring light turn on for any of those events, and then as soon as I close the software, it can shut the ring light off. Along those lines, I had a series of commands that were both the ones you saw in the Discord as well as just chat commands that ran through the built-in Twitch channel points that allowed people to switch the cameras. They could also do it with chat text commands. So you do exclamation mark and the number of the camera, and that would all run and switch those cameras. That doesn't use IFTTT, so I'm off track completely. But what it would do on a similar function, I do all these games. We do like a Halloween game and a St. Patrick's Day game, and just to see how much the game is getting played, because clearly I can't be there 24/7. I would bake in a webhook command that reported things to me. So whenever somebody did one of those game commands, and there were several per game, it would run what's called an action group. And that action group is a chat-based command. So you can't just trigger it on your own. You can't intentionally be like, secret command, I'm going to get it. Like it has to just be a part of something else. So I would have it like sort of a subroutine where when somebody did one of these chat commands, it would pull this action group up, and that action group would grab the name of the command and the amount of people watching at the time and the user and the time of day. And it would, trigger an IFTTT webhook, and that would send it off to a Google Sheet. And then at the end of the week, I could see, 2,000 times people try to summon the rainbow cat or whatever it is. And, that resulted in 100,000 views of people seeing this particular trigger, which is great if you're doing something with a brand and you want to come back to that brand and be like, here you go. These were all the brand integration triggers that we had for you. And this is itemized what each one got. And here's the total of those things, which I did, do on a small scale. We did have like some banner ads and stuff. So anytime that banner ad ran, it also ran that action group. In fact, it had a secondary action group that it ran that went to a specific Google Sheet just for that brand name. So yeah, you can do all of that kind of stuff. You could pass a bunch of variables. You can pass 3 variables from Mix It Up to IFTTT, and then have it take those and run those into different places as well. So yeah, it's really good for tracking a bunch of things. On the flip side, for Qt Avalanche, we do some fundraisers that run through WordPress. So we have, I believe it's called WP Give. It might be Give WP. I don't remember. But it is a fundraising plugin for WordPress that basically creates a Kickstarter style fundraiser inside a blog post. There is another WordPress plugin that is like WP Webhooks, something to that effect. It might not be called that. And it works with Give WP, which I've decided that's what I'm calling it. So whenever a donation is made, it then triggers that webhook, and it sends the information of like, this is the first name of the person, the amount of the donation, the campaign, and some other stuff, time of day, those kind of things. It sends all of that. And that webhook then goes to IFTTT, which then sends a second webhook out back to Mix It Up. Mix It Up inputs the webhook, pulls the data, and then sends that to text files that show up in OBS. and that pops up an alert in OBS, says, Johnny 29 donated $50 to Crazy Cat Summer, and then it goes away. So, yeah.
Nice. So, I mean, it can get really, really quite nerdy very quickly. I'm just going to go to this question from Saeed. So, he writes, I know that the Stream Deck has an IFTTT plugin. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that works very similar to the Mix It Up plugins that go out, not come in, because Stream Deck's not pulling in information quite like Mix It Up. It might, but not to that extent. But so yeah, you're just making a trigger, and if you hit that trigger, it prompts a webhook in the IFTTT world. I'm actually going to bring it up so I make sure I'm not missing anything. And then that would basically run the same way. Yeah, here it is. It's IFTTT. Whoa, let's throw that here. And yeah, it's literally just, I can't share this because it has private information. But yeah, it's just asking for an event name, and that event name is the webhook key, basically, the webhook trigger word. So once it sees that, it runs that thing. I did have, for my board game stream, some pretty complex, this is back to Mix It Up, pretty complex routines that would let people play a game that had some visual elements. It was like a King of the Hill style game. And whenever somebody took over the hill, Mix It Up would take like a color value from their user avatar and send that through IFTTT to my smart lights and change the color of the lights to reflect the new king's avatar colors.
That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I keep going back to the Kid Avalanche the kitten cam, and I know it's probably a bit of a sore point given everything that's happened in the last couple of months.
Yes.
But I understand, like, it was a 24-hour live stream, and because the space the kittens hang out in essentially was your bedroom, I think you had a nighttime routine that sort of went to a playlist and did other things. Was that something that you were doing via IFT?
Most of that was done through Mix It Up because it has a direct connection to OBS, but it did run some IFT commands to tell me things like when that happened. So I could, much like we were talking before the show about the OBS chapter marker plugin, I could do the same sort of thing with Mix It Up and IFT, and then send that to a spreadsheet. So for those you don't know, there is a plugin called Chapter Marker that works with OBS that essentially creates a text doc. Anytime you switch scenes, it will note that in the text doc with the time. Is it the time or the stream time?
It's actually the recording time, but I've set up OBS to essentially start recording it when I start streaming now. So yeah, and it's like I've only been playing with it for a couple of days, but it's really cool. And like you can sort of, like, the most basic way of using it is it'll just record when you move to a different scene. You can also go in and say, hey, don't include this scene in the list. And all it's doing for me right now is generating a text file. But I've got to tell you, putting in those YouTube chapter markers is something I say I'm going to do every week, and I think I've done maybe 3 times in the last 3 years. So I love the idea of this helping me out a little bit, and you can sort of add extra triggers in there to, even if you're not switching to different scenes, you can give it titles on the fly if you want to type them out. So it does some really cool stuff, and I think we'll have to do.
That's cool.
We'll probably, we have to do another OBS plugins show in the near future, but that's always hard because we love them so much that it's hard to decide which 4 we're going to cover. But anyway, we'll certainly get into that. But yes, and there is, with the, I guess, the new version of OBS, and I'm not sure if it's been released yet, but they're actually building some version of that functionality directly into the platform as well.
Oh, that'd be great.
But it does require a special version of MP4. I think it's like enhanced MP4, and I don't know.
Right.
I've always recorded to MKV and then remix things later on. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I want to make that change just yet, but I guess we'll watch
Right.
that
Right.
space.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, but so I did have a routine within the nighttime routine that would essentially create that sort of chapter marker experience. And I had that for a bunch of different things. Anytime we did like close-ups of the cat, I had a bunch of Stream Deck commands that would run to IFT actually, but I think it ran to both IFT and Mix It Up. But I had just a page of buttons that was like labeled, so it was like close-up, unboxing, feeding time, things like that. And anytime I hit one of those buttons, it would send a webhook to IFTTT, and that would send the relevant sort of labeling to a spreadsheet or a text file, so I could look back and be like, ah, there's that thing.
Absolutely. All right. Cool. So, I guess like before we start to wrap up the show, and again, if you've got any questions, let us know in the chat, and we'll attempt to answer those. But like I guess we talk about you being nerdy, and I talk about how do we bridge the gap for the newbies. So, I guess if you were to suggest that somebody go and, I mean, maybe they can use your lovely link to sign up to If Today, and what would be that sort of first recommended a recipe, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the ones we talked about at the top of the show. If you are a video creator, a podcaster, a live streamer, it is the minute you put out new content to post that to whatever that social media platform is that you use the most. So Twitter or Facebook or Discord, and just let people know that you've posted a new video or that you're live now.
Nice. Okay, very cool. So don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you happen to be watching this. It's funny. I've got the Stream Deck extra large, and I normally I might have 12 buttons on a screen, but for the new way that I'm running this show, nearly all of them are full. So I need to be a little bit careful about what I click on. But be that as it may, and again, we love our Stream Deck, so they're really really awesome. But I guess Sam, as we begin to wrap this up, where can people find out more about you, watch your content, all that good stuff?
Yeah, head over to samproof.tv. You can find all of my social links at the top left there and follow me there. I will be releasing new videos based on Mix It Up and IFTTT routines and how to do those step by step in the coming months. Coming years. Yeah, in about 10, 20 years, it'll be out there. Now, yeah, so look for that on my blog, samproof.tv, or my YouTube channel, youtube.com/samproof. And while our cats aren't being streamed, our friend Insomnia Doodles has been gracious enough to stream her foster cats, which you can see 24/7 on cuteavalanche.com or the Twitch or YouTube channel. So check those out. And yeah, we'll have our own fosters back online soon.
Nice. And if you want to catch up with anything I'm up to, you can head over to johnlacey.com. There are social links at the bottom of the page, the podcast, some newsletter articles, all other things. So yes, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really happy that the show has sort of come together in this way, because I love just doing productions exclusively out of OBS, and I haven't really had much opportunity to do that in the longest time. And I just want to say too, thank you to I believe it's Steve from Video Ninja and Social Stream Ninja, and all those amazing tools that he puts out into the world that are absolutely free. And I love the cat action in the background. That was amazing. Quite a jump. Yeah. So again, next week on the show, I wonder if I should tease the topic, or if we should maybe I think I'll hold off actually. So if there are things that you want us to look at in the future, please let us know in the chat and on the comments wherever you happen to be watching this. Yeah, so Sam, have you got any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I mean, I think it's well worth it to automate as many things as you can. I may have gone out of control with some of the 500 routines that I have, but yeah, send me your most mundane routines, and I'll see what I can do to make that easier for you.
And I must admit, I do love the idea of buying back your time with this automation. And again, that example that you keep citing, I am the kind of person that has been manually updating. We're about to go live on YouTube in 57 different places before the show goes live. And again, because of the changes we've made this week, I haven't been able to do that. So there's a good chance nobody on any of my socials remember this was happening. But anyway, it is what it is. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week and a great weekend. And we'll talk to you again soon.